Live from the planet Earth in the Andromeda system, this is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live. You know what this is, and you know why we're all here. What's up around the world? Hi, Lori Dawn. Hi, Gina, Philip, Larry Kelly. What's up? Driving and watching the show again, bro? Yeah, I'm down in the Sunshine State, and I'm down here with my dad, and my brother's down here, and my dad is coming on the show today. So that should be cool. That's always awesome. So Arnie Stone's going to make an appearance on today's show. We have a great guest. Super excited about that. And let's see what's going on with everybody. Norway in the house. Good. Norway should be in the house. What up, Federico? How are you, buddy? What's up, Paul? Como está? You know, the whole gang. What's up in Arizona, brother Chris? Is it snowing yet? You know, Belgium. All right. Good. Glad Belgium's holding it down. You know what I mean? What else? What else? Everybody else. Good. Good. I'm glad. What else? Hey, you know what? We got some great shows coming up. Let me just drop them on you real quick. Coming up this Sunday is Moby, and we're psyched on that. Breaking out the big guns here with Moby. And then a couple days after that, we got Glenn Matlock from the Sex Pistols on the show, which is definitely resonates with me. Then talk about the big boys. We got Mike Judge on. And then we got Nancy Burrell talking about her new book, I'm Not Holding Your Coat, motherfucker. So, you know, Nancy Burrell going to drop some of that old school Philly hardcore knowledge on us. That should be cool. But yeah, we got some banging shows coming up. So that's great, man. So watching from Cali. What's happening, Nilo? All right, Steve busted out the first Whipping Boy album last night. There you go. Listen, you and me both, man. Scott Adler. Hey, Drew, could I get a birthday shout out from me here in England? Well, let's see. Absolutely. Happy birthday, Scott Alder. Thanks for supporting the show. You know, don't do anything I wouldn't do on your birthday locked in your house. That said, oh yeah, by the way, we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, and Your Core Hardcore fan page. That said, Your Core Hardcore fan page. In the wake of the pandemic, Your Core Chris created Your Core fan page, utilizing lessons learned from over 20 years of being an educator and social worker. He decided to try to reach where hardcore punk and the surrounding genres of bands create not only their music, but their message. The interviews are from a psychological perspective to harvest motivation. I like that. Harvest motivation. I'm harvesting motivation. Personal insight and perspective. Please reach out to them on Facebook or Instagram if you have content to share or if you want to promote your band, Your Core fan page. Go check him out. Go check Chris out. He's doing cool stuff over there. Also, Vladimir, our boy, at the Organic Grill. It's a vegan restaurant located in East Village of New York City at 123 First Avenue, featured in New York Magazine, the New York Times, and Veg News. Their dishes have won numerous awards, including Best Veggie Burger. They make their own cheeses, sausages, and burger patties, and every dish on the menu can be made gluten-free. This year, they're celebrating their 20th anniversary. And they're all about having a great time while enjoying amazing, clean food. After 2 months of being closed, they're now open for deliveries. Get in touch with them. Order some great food at www.theorganicgrill.com. That said, what's happening with the hardcore shutterbug, Steven Messina? What's up?
What's up? What's up?
Holding it down, huh?
Oh, yeah. Day before Thanksgiving. Got a couple days off. It's going to be good.
Good.
Do some serious eating tomorrow.
Listen, I'm trying to lose some weight, man. So
it's unavoidable.
I got a big date with the camera January 15th down here. We're shooting additional shooting for my new film, and I'm on camera.
Oh, nice.
So, I'm on camera. I don't want to be like, here I am, like, 20 pounds heavier. Nothing fits me. I'm trying to lose some weight, bro.
I'll tell you the clips that I've seen from the new movie look really, really good. So
Thank you, bro. Thank you.
you
All
people
right.
are in for something good.
Yeah, man. And that's what I'm doing down here, by the way. For those that are wondering, I am down here in Florida. I'm with Arnie Stone. I'm with my brother Evan Stone, and we're doing some work on the new film, as well as having some Thanksgiving stuff. So that said, let's get it on. This is photo of the day. Wrong answers only, please. Here we go. Boom. Let me get rid of that banner. That banner. There you go. Photo of the day. What you got, people? Let's hear it. Let's see. Intermittent fasting. Yes. You know what? Funny you should bring that up because that's exactly what I'm doing, bro. That's exactly what I'm doing. Intermittent fasting. Yep.
I thought that was the name of the band he was talking about.
Yo, we're intermittent fasting. This one's called. All right. Is this Spandau Ballet? Is this Spandau Ballet? Oops. Is it Culture Club? Is it Maroon 5? Good one. Here's a winner. Is it Adam Sandler? That's good.
Jeez.
That's pretty good. Is it Scalpel Flan?
Oh, flan.
Scalpel Flan.
We're not going to be able to escape the flan for quite some time, I think.
No, we're locked into the flan. What else? Is it In Excess? Come on, it's fucking Devo. All right. Is it Oasis? Not bad. Yeah, it's Oasis. Yeah, that's a good.
Nah, if it was Oasis, they'd all be staring at the floor.
Right. Oh, hold on a second. I'm flailing about here. I'm flanning about. What's up, Big Rob? Bitter Uproar, represent. Is it Whitesnake? Is it Aerosmith? Is it Poison? Duran. Kind of looks like Duran. Here's another shot, right? That you sent me another one, right?
Yes, I did.
Here is another one. Oh, a backstage shot. This is like a how do you say it?
A portrait, if you will.
It's a portrait shot. Okay, here we go. Is it Kiss Without Masks? Up the Gunners. What is that? He's wearing, what is that, an Arsenal shirt? That's an Arsenal.
The soccer jersey, right?
No, he's wearing, that's a scarf.
I think you're talking about the guy. The red.
Yeah. All right. Is it House of Pain? That's a good one. Is it House of Pain?
Jump around.
Is it jump around? Hey man, love jump around. Is it the Tottenham Hotspur Supporters Club? Okay. Yeah. Is it the Foreskins? Is it the Business? Okay.
That's the closest we've come so far.
Okay. Is it House or Pain? Okay, here we go. All right. You ready?
Who's got it?
Is it Iron Cross?
There we go.
Is it Iron Cross? Is it the Foo Fighters? Is it Crosby, Stills, and Nash?
It's Crosby.
That one got my dad laughing. Is it? All right. It is. Is it My Peoples? Is it? Is it the Vatican Commandos? Now we're getting somewhere. All right. Okay. Tell us about this. This
is a band called Iron Cross.
Tell us about it.
Well, as everybody knows, anybody who goes to a hardcore show, you're not going to get out of an Agnostic Front show without hearing Crucified. And these are the people that gave us that song. These pictures were taken in 2007. And it is the only time I've ever been to this place. It was a very short-lived club in the city called the Rebel. And it was like a block or two over from Madison Square Garden. And that night it was Iron Cross, Step Too Far, and a band called Des Control. And it was great. I mean, like, literally, it was like a very small, intimate club. Everyone was just hanging out. You know, there really wasn't much of a backstage. This was more like a lounge. Like, everybody was just kind of hanging around and
just lounging.
You know, Frank Too Far was there. Step Too Far played, and it was really cool. And that was, I believe, that was probably, it was 2007. And I can't remember being at any other shows at that place.
Yeah, it's a weird place for Iron Cross to be playing, right?
But
crucified for your flan. Crucified for your flan. Yep, that's cool. Listen, Iron Cross, you know, now this was 2007, you said? 2007? Can you hear me?
I can. Your voice got like kind of weird and garbled for a second.
This was 2007?
2007, yeah.
Yeah.
2007. It was I think it was like 30th Street or something. It was literally walking distance from the Garden.
Yeah, so I wasn't in New York City for a couple years, so I wasn't around in 2007. But I will say this, like Iron Cross, man, we loved Iron Cross back in the day. When they put out that first 7-inch, they put out those 2 7-inches, woof. And also, you know, their tracks on the Flex Your Head, Boston, D.C. compilation, we loved Iron Cross back in the day. And as a matter of fact, I got to throw this. I got to dig this out as we're talking here. And hold on, where is that? Jesus. Yeah. So in 1982, I went to when I was part of the whole SSD Control crew. We drove from Boston down to DC, and there was a show. It was Iron Cross, Government Issue, and SSD Control. And
oh wow!
Like 2 van loads of people, two van loads of punks and skins, you know, drove from Boston to DC, which is a long trip, man. That's a long ass trip. And we were tore it up on the floor of the Chancery. And Iron Cross in 1982 was great. That's like sort of the original band. And then I saw them a while after that. They played the Rock Hotel, and it was a little bit different. They played like Jumpin' Jack Flash, and it was a little bit different. And then they disappeared for a couple years after that. But I know eventually they kind of came back around, you know.
And how many
we loved back in the day, man. They were awesome.
How many original guys are left in the band, you know?
I just think Saab Gray. I think that's it. You know, I think just Saab. Or, you know, Saab or Sab, depending on your pronunciation. So, all right, cool. Well, thank you, bro.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later. And then
absolutely, everybody have a happy Thanksgiving, healthy and all that. And I'll see you in a little bit.
Talk to you in a bit. Okay. Yeah, Bob Riley says it's just Sab Gray. Chris Contos, what's happening, brother? Hope you're well. Out there in Machine Head Land, out there. You guys are, you and today's guest, I think, live in the same vicinity out there. You know. That said, I wonder what this guy is doing.
Rackbone, 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 rackbone.
Hey, brah.
You have seen his fist or the bottom of the shoe. I love it.
It's still great, bro. It's still great.
Classic, bro. I feel like the Fonz.
Yeah, man. You got a cool. No one's gonna be able to beat your intro, dude. Your intro, you're ruling.
My shirt. Happy Thanksgiving, all you toy collectors out there. Check out that shirt, kid.
Wow.
Really nice.
Cool.
So I'm going to show you guys. I want to jump right into it today, man. We got a great show today. We got an A-lister right now coming up. I can see this from talking to him a little bit. I want to go. I don't got to do a comic book or nothing like that today. I just want to do a collectibles. I find in the flea market a lot of cassettes. 4 cassettes really quick. Then we'll jump into the toy and we'll be out. So I got. Not Prong. This one's a little bit more obscure. Trouble.
Uh-huh.
This is banger.
Oh, speaking about that's Rob Flynn from Machine Head, right?
Yeah, I believe.
Yeah, Chris Contos' boy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
And then we got where everybody, you know.
Oh yeah.
Salt. So I picked those up in the flea market in a box full of, you know, Johnny Mathis cassettes and like the classical cassettes.
Johnny Mathis.
Well, you see a lot of garbage out there. You have to
really. I would have liked the Johnny Mathis cassette.
I have some of that too. I'm not knocking it. I'm just saying there's so much crap out there that if you're not really digging in the flea market, you're not really finding the gems, you know.
Yep.
So I'm going to jump right into the toy of the day, man. I promised you guys some Star Wars. Last time you saw, I got that big lot of Star Wars. And I showed this a long time ago, but outside, you couldn't really see it. This is the 1978 Kenner TIE Fighter. And it came with that little stormtrooper would have been who would you have had in it. And you can see all the panels are pretty nice. You know, that's the big thing.
That's a TIE Fighter.
Yeah. Twin.
Even a novice like me knows that's a TIE Fighter.
Do you know what it stands for?
No.
Twin Ion Engine TIE Fighter. Yes.
Mm.
So, yeah, all those panels, you know, the thing with a lot of these old toys like this, that glue, the adhesive that kept these on, well, almost you find these and they're ratted out. There's no panels, you know. So, and then later on, when Empire Strikes Back came out, I always liked this figure. That was the actual TIE Fighter pilot. But he didn't come out till Empire Strikes Back was released, and that's a 80s release. And then I got one more badass one. I always loved this one. I mean, as a kid, if you had one TIE Fighter, you were good. But if you had the TIE Fighter and Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, and same thing, you see how the stickers are kind of bubbling up? So with this kind of stuff, it's just the fact that they're still there. And this one works. I put the battery in it. So pretty tight. I got this with that lot too, the Darth Vader. He's pretty clean. I mean, there's something about these. I mean, a lot of people I know, oh, yeah, toys. But when you hold this, you remember, you know, you go back to that time when you were a kid and it takes you back somewhere, you know.
Listen, that's part of what we're doing here, bro.
A long time ago in a galaxy far, far away when life was good.
Clone Wars.
What? So, yeah.
Cool.
And I'll give you guys a hint of next week's toy. See if anyone can figure it out real quick before I go. I'll soak you for airtime. What do you think's coming up next time, guys?
It has something to do with Star Wars.
It's in the photo, and it's not Han and Chip.
Oh, I know what that is. Even I know what that is. Okay, cool. All right, man.
Looking forward to the show. Thanks for all the support. Like I said, I got things in Generation Records. You can go in there and ask them, like, where the Rat Bones toys. I'm going to just put a couple of big items in there at a time just to move them. You know, you can't take this stuff with you. I'm starting to get like you, Drew. It's almost just too overwhelming, and having so much luck can be bad luck, you know, if you have nowhere to put it all.
Hey, man, you don't even put yourself in my category. I have nothing, and I don't want nothing. people give me shit. And I go, I have nothing. I got I just, all I want in life is a toothbrush and like a can of tuna fish, and I'm good, bro.
Right. But to me, this is nothing.
Man, listen, that's you, baby. Do you, Bubba?
There it is. Love you, man. Happy holidays to everybody. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, man.
Party down.
In a bit.
In a little bit later.
Okay. Oops. Yo, it's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, and Your Core Hardcore fan page. Well, by popular demand, we are going to bring special guest on, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls of all ages, straight from the South Bronx, from Taft High School, from apparently the college pool room. You know him, you love him. Arnie Stone. What's up, Pop?
It's quite an introduction.
Was that really the name of the pool room you guys hung out? The college pool room?
That was the name of it, the college pool room. That was our education. That was mine, because I didn't get through high school, and that was our college education. And I'll tell you, it was pretty good. Got me to where I am now. So it was.
What do you got? What's going on today, Pop?
No, I just have a simple message, very, very simple. For those that are still dealing with, I've spent 50 years in the film business and the music business, every part of it, always dealing with creative people, always this one's right, this one's wrong, decision making. So just a simple message that when you want to correct someone or something to get to your point of view, or to your advantage, to change their minds and kind of get them with a fixed position, which is difficult with creative people, as you may know, either in a band or doing a film. The very first thing you have to do is let them know that they are right. And first acknowledge where they're coming from and that their take on the subject matter is true for them. Respect that. Then introduce looking at the same situation from another perspective. The side that they may have the side they may have overlooked or never considered. The person, if he's really should be okay with that, with knowing that they were not mistaken, but they just failed to see all sides of the subject that was in question. So this approach should achieve your objective, whether it's in art, music, whatever, and probably in personal life too, unless that person's ego is in a way, then it's, their way or the highway. So the other person is fearful of change and insecure, and will not allow change no matter what others may think. So the end result is, should that be true, the best way to work with that person is that he can tell you what to do and hire people. He can pay to achieve his own vision, and good luck. But the best way to get your point of view across is acknowledge, not in an argument the other person is wrong, but the other person's right, and hope that they see the other side. It's a simple message. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And I hope it resonates with a few people to get through certain problems.
Hey, Dad, did this come about from?
Absolutely. Absolutely, because to get two brothers to agree on a creative situation, we're all working on the film together, and to get both of them to agree to see it one way, yeah, that's the way it was.
Yeah, we were doing it. Okay, Pop, we're gonna bring you back on a little bit later with our guest, right? Okay. Well, there you have it. By popular demand, words of wisdom from Arnie Stone. That said, let's bring on today's guest. Here we go. Today's guest is a vocalist, songwriter, author, and amateur fighter born and raised in New York City. He is known for his work with the bands Blackface, Whipping Boy, and of course, Oxbow. His authored works include articles for GQ, Vice, V Magazine, Decibel, Revolver, and of course, the literary classic, Fight. Everything you ever wanted to know about ass kicking, but were afraid you'd get your ass kicked for asking. Coming to us from East Palo Alto, California, please welcome one of the old school New York hardcore boppers back in the day, Mr. Eugene S. Robinson.
That was a nice lead up. I like that.
Come on, bro.
Yeah,
How are you, man?
Nah, not too. Every day and every way, better and better. I'm doing all right today.
Good. Thanks for coming on the show, man.
Anytime you want to have me, like I tell you before, just assume it's going to be yes. Don't even have to ask. It's always going to be yes. Yeah.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
So tell us what's going on. What were you doing? When the zombie apocalypse hit, when the shit hit the fan, did you have shows booked, or how did your life change?
Well, I was at work and sitting across from a woman who was coughing in my face, and I was like, I kind of leaned out from behind my computer monitor, and I'm like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And she's like, "Oh, it's just allergies." I go, "Get out of it, move your seat, come on," And then that's when they came with, "You got to go home. Everybody's got to go home." So I'm happy. And I think I'd gone to jiu-jitsu that morning with one of the guys that I trained with, who was a cop who'd been out for 2 months. Goes, "Man, it was a terrible sickness. I was spitting up all this green shit," and he probably had COVID too. But I ducked it, and we were in the middle of recording a new record. So, which is called Love's Holiday. And I think we had done with the basics, and my turn was up. Vocals were, I think, scheduled for March, and we pushed them back to July. And then the studio had some great.
This was a new Oxbow record?
New Oxbow record, yeah. Joe Ciccarelli, a Boston guy who was in LA, produced the last two, is producing it along with Nico Winter, guitar player. And they rigged out the studio so that we could do this, massive cleaning, separate entrance, come in, pretty much just go straight to the vocal booth, and sat there for 12 hours, sang 18 songs, and then left the same way.
Wow.
So, and that's unusual for us, because our records usually have like 8 or 9 records. So we did like 2 albums worth of material. So now we're in the phase where we can be locked down, because we still have like symphonic shit to add and guitar overdubs, but those are pretty solitary things. The choir and the symphonic stuff is difficult, because we have to find a space big enough to fit all those people in, where they can socially distance, but without dying, but can still play and see each other. So right. We didn't have. It's a precarious balance. Yeah, it is. But the timing was great, because I just had my 4th kid. Nico, the guitar player, also had a second kid.
I was thinking about that. You're like a real breeder, aren't you, bro?
That's what Biafra said to me last time I talked to.
You're like a fucking breeder, bro. You're like, you have like worker ants and breeders, and like you have like comedian ants like me, and then you have like you're like a real breeder, bro.
Hey, man, I've made a decision that is how I pay my debt to society. By generating decent by generating people who are more decent than me, right? So.
Oh shit, that's great, man.
Yeah. So schedule wise, it worked out well for us, because we didn't want to be going touring with a 4-month-old in the house anyway, or a 4-month-old on tour. And Ciccarelli said something pretty clever. He said, he's producing people like Jack White and the Morrissey and so on. And he was like, "Listen, let me tell you what's going to happen with this shutdown when it ends." And he goes, "When it ends, it's going to be all this pent up demand. You're not going to be able to get in there unless you've been doing something that has made sense during the shutdown. So do something that makes sense during the shutdown. So it's like, yeah, we're trying to very, very definitely trying to keep our place in line by doing stuff that makes sense during the shutdown instead of just like making fake shows that then don't happen or making fake promises that don't end up happening. No, we're doing stuff that makes sense. And after we finish we'll do videos as well, which we can do in a shutdown scenario. So
absolutely.
You know what Mr. Natural said, don't let your meat loaf.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Keep on trucking.
That too.
Hey, so tell us about where were you born? Where did you came up, and how did music come into your life? Did you grow up in a musical household?
Well, you know, it's a weird story, man, and I've not told it too many times before. I told it once before, but it turns out that my father was a bass playing spy. No,
of course he was.
Fucking joke. Yeah. He and I haven't talked since I turned 19. We talked once since I turned 19, but apparently he was Air Force intelligence, and his gig was, but he spoke 4 languages. His gig was to tour Eastern Europe, because nobody would expect, you know, a African American jazz bassist to be able to speak any languages. So he was supposed to play Eastern Bloc clubs and report back anything he heard.
Wow.
I had no idea. He was he and my mother got divorced when I was about 5. But I would have to credit my mother, who you know, has had a stage, the height of her stage career. I think I saw her dance at Avery Fisher Hall, even though she was a counselor for the great majority of her life. But she gave me, I remember being like 3 or 4 years old, and she gave me it looked like a little shoe shine box, and you know, you open the top and it was a spindle and it was a record player, and she gave me 5 records and said, you know, you can, if you take care of this, you can play these. If you break it, I'm not going to get it fixed. I'm going to take it away, or if you're rough with it. And so I was like super religious and cool about it. And I had.
Let me ask: where was this happening in New York City?
Ozone Park. We lived in Ozone Park at the time. So, so I was born in Queens, and
where in Queens?
Hollis.
And, as in, like, it's Christmas time. We're in Hollis, Queens.
Hence the jacket. Right. And then lived in Jamaica like until I was like 8 months old at my aunt's house. We had a house in Jamaica, and then Ozone Park, and then from Ozone Park to Westchester after the divorce, and then from there we moved into Brooklyn, where I remained until I left to come to California. So she gave me some 7. We didn't call them; they were called 45s back then. It was like Ray Charles, Elvis, and the Beatles, and that was it. And I played those to death.
Were the Beatles a big influence?
Not especially. I dug them mostly because of the cartoons, right? People forget that they had these cartoon movies, which were great places to take kids. So like, I think I got Rubber Soul, you know, as a gift from my former stepbrother, and I was, Yellow. So I was into the Beatles, but I was much more into. I really dug Elvis.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. I mean, despite Chuck D's thing, I liked Elvis in the movie. So, Ray Charles was the other 45 that I had. That I was.
Our resident historian Chucky Brown says his father was a journalist and gave him his first punk record, Eddie and the Hot Rods, Teenage Depression. Is that right?
That is actually correct. He, my stepfather worked at the New York Post before Murdoch bought it, and a record came into the city room, and he had the kid with a gun on the cover, and he, it's kind of a depressive teen. He thought, it'd be funny. I'll bring it home, and he brought home Teenage Depression and gave it to me, and that was the first record that I had. But I had started to listen to metal probably when I was 14 is when I started to listen to metal, 13 or 14, and because I'd listened to R&B and stuff before then, and a lot of salsa music, actually, strangely enough, because my stepfather was an arts and entertainment writer, and so he was always like, we had all the records from Willie Colon and the Fania All Stars and Tito Puente and so on. So
I mean, that's the stuff that my dad grew. That's the stuff that my dad grew up with too. Tito Puente and what was it, Pop? Mambo, Latin, what was it?
Well,
Yeah.
you had Celia Cruz, La Lupe.
Yeah.
So it's always a lot of cool stuff. We all Sunday, we'd listen to that all Sunday. So,
Yeah.
but then the emotional, it wasn't meeting my emotional demands by the age of 13 and 14. So that's where the metal came in. And then, of course, like everybody else, when the Sex Pistols hit New York, it was like, whoa, 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 something, it was in the newspapers. And so, we're like going to shows. And so
how old were you so did you actively start seeking out shows in New York City, like for this new sort of punk rock thing?
Yeah. And there were a couple of like-minded people. There's a girl, Yvonne Caravaggio. Her older sister was into punk, and she's like, do you go into the shows at CB's? I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to the shows at CB's. I just went, once I'd figured out the subway, I could get on the subway to get places, I started to go to shows at CB's, just wandered in. And it was weird. I did an interview with somebody later, and they were like, you just wandered in? I was like, yeah, that's how it works. They were like, well, weren't you afraid? I go, what kind of question is that? It's like, you went to McDonald's, weren't you afraid? What the fuck is going to happen to me? I'm going to a show,
Right.
So, I was a little afraid going to shows in the meatpacking industry, but that was 77, 78,
I mean, also,
weighed about 150 pounds,
let me throw this in the mix a little bit. I mean, there wasn't a lot of young black teenagers going to fucking punk shows back then either, right?
Well, that wasn't so much there were plenty.
And I'm not trying to go there, but
I'm just telling. Look, the bass player. One of the first bands I came to know about was the Plasmatics. The bass player was black,
that was Jean
Beauvoir. Yeah, and he lived right in the where the Beastie Boys used to live, over in the Village. Yeah, same building with Richie Stotts, and they hung out. So there was always, as far as I knew, there was always an African American presence in this new music that was happening.
Okay,
It was Neon. What's the guy's
Neon Leon?
Neon Leon, and so it never. And I mean, but also, if you grow up in New York, you're around all different types of people. Anyway,
I love it, bro. I love it, man.
Yeah.
It's right on, man. I mean,
and look, I've been carrying weapons on me since I was 13, so it wasn't like, who's this going to step to me even when I was 16? Nobody's going to, they took their life in their hands, and that's, like we all did in New York at that time. So,
were there any like who were we're talking like 80, 81? Were there any?
No. We're talking 77, man.
Okay.
Yeah, my first show, I think my first show was the Rattlers at CB's, and that was like that's Dave Windorf from Monster Magnet, his first band.
Wow.
And they came out from Jersey, and I didn't know that about the Kiss thing. That's cool. And
John Beauvoir produced and wrote for Kiss and for the Ramones. When did do you remember what was the first? When did hardcore come into your universe? In what capacity?
I have to say, before I know this for a fact, before I left New York, like Black Flag was the first hardcore show that I saw in New York City. And that had to be, I'm sure somebody who's a more thorough chronicler can let me know. It had to be at Irving Plaza, and Dez was singing, and which was a phenomenal show. And the only people I remember from there, from when I came back with Whipping Boy, I remember Jack Rabbit was there, I remember Harley was there, and I remember Ira was there.
Right.
And Claudette. And I'm not saying that other people weren't there, but I'm just telling you about the people who I remember when I came back with Whipping Boy, right? So, but so that was 77, 78. And I went to a lot of these shows alone, but weird shit used to happen back in those days, right? Like I'm on the subway once, and back in those days, if you had on a weird T-shirt, people would be like, you knew you were part of the same tribe. And some guy says to me, I don't even remember what shirt I had. He just started talking to me on the subway. He goes, "What are you doing tonight?" I go, "I'm going home. I'm going back to Brooklyn." I mean, I was like 16 then. And the guy's like, "Fuck that. Let's go over to Max's." And I was like, "Man, I don't have money to get back on the subway." That's like it's like, "We'll steal money off the bar. Don't worry." So we go to Max's, and like, I think I saw Johnny Thunders or something. It was great. Stole money off the bar, made it home 2 or 3 hours late. My mother's like, "Where were you?" I was like, I went to see some music. So,
were there any New York hardcore band? What's an early New York hardcore band in your opinion? Like who kind of was, who would you think of like was like hardcore in like
I saw the Stimulators, and I remember just kind of looking at Harley, go, "The fuck is that? That kid? What's it? There's a kid. What's that kid doing the drums?" But he could play. But I never considered them hardcore. I considered
the Stimulate. Yeah, they were sort of they bridged. They were a bridge kind of to.
It was to me. It was like punk rock thing. The first hardcore band that I was aware of was Heart Attack.
Jesse Malin's band.
And but of course, by the time I got to California, it was an explosion. And it was in 1980. And when I say an explosion, people don't understand. In the early days, like in 1980, people were not entirely sure that hardcore wasn't going to be huge. Like new wave was huge. Like punk rock for a period of time had been huge. So one of the first shows I saw in California was Bill Graham produced at the California Hall, which is a big, legit, legit kind of venue. And I saw
Dead Kennedys.
It wasn't the Dead Kennedys. I think it was Fear and the Circle Jerks.
Wow.
And I also think something that you can't, you as a filmmaker, I think you should understand. You would understand this. You cannot at all underestimate, and credit is not given to this woman and should be given to Penelope Spheris, because the decline of Western civilization is single-handedly responsible for making it possible for Whipping Boy to play in like places like Milwaukee or Austin in 1981 or 82. That was like, there was no MTV, there was no internet, there was nothing. It was her film. So
it's very powerful. Film and cinema is a very powerful medium. Especially in a situation like that, where she was one of the first people that documented, that lifestyle. It wasn't just bands on stage. She documented the lifestyle.
Correct. And the reality of it is, I believe, I mean, that band, so we go to the California Hall to see Fear and the Circle Jerks. That was the first time I saw them live, but I had seen them in her movie prior to then.
That's right.
So I show up in 1980, they're playing at the California Hall. Bill Graham standing outside, and of course I recognize him from Apocalypse Now.
Oh yeah.
So I just said, "What the fuck are you doing here?" He goes, "It's my show." And then that's when he was telling me he didn't think he was going to put on too many more punk shows, because it's like, it's too much chaos.
He also put on the Sex Pistols' last show ever. Yep. Was at the Winterland, which that's was right. The Winterland is a pretty big place. It's the biggest show. Apparently, it was. Obviously, it was the biggest show they ever played, and the last show they ever played until they sort of reunited many years later.
And that line from that show, I quote, and I always get it wrong. Have you ever felt cheated?
Yeah, that was the last thing he ever said on stage.
I use that line all the time. That's great.
Absolutely. So you went to Stuyvesant High School.
I did.
And from there you went to Stanford University.
I did.
How did you get into Stuyvesant?
I'm a genius, man. Anybody ever tell you that? I'm a fucking smart guy.
Yeah, I do. Hey, I grew up in New York City. Getting into Stuyvesant wasn't easy, man.
Yeah, well, the fact of the matter is, there was some kind of interesting chicanery that went on. Like I went to good schools. I went to Montessori Academy out in Park Slope. I was a bright kid. But the whole time I had always seen fractions written with horizontal lines, right?
Uh-huh.
So when I took the test for Stuyvesant, suddenly fractions were written with slashes, like you see in the URL. I don't know what the fuck these was. Is it multiple choice? What does it mean? So I scored. So I was like 2 points off of getting in. And so when they said, "What the fuck you know these?" I go, "Yeah, but this is what happened." And so they go back to the school. They say, "Hey, yo, look, this is what happened." And the school was like, "Well, you know, we don't know." And then my stepfather, who was friends with Percy Sutton, the Manhattan bureau chief, pulled some frickin' strings and was like, "Yo, the guy says he understands fractions." And they were like, okay. So they let me in, but I was on probation for 6 months. And then, of course, you know, I got all hundreds and won an award where they give you like these gold, silver, bronze awards. So after the first 6 months, I got some gold award for academics. And they were like, okay, maybe he was telling the truth about the fractions. So that's how I got in there.
Yeah, and funny you should bring up Percy Sutton, because me and Dad were talking this morning over breakfast about, you know, because David Dinkins just passed away, the former New York City mayor, and you know, and Percy Sutton and David Dinkins and another friend of the family, Clarence Jones, whose son I grew up with. They formed this. They formed an organization that was behind reopening the Apollo. You know, back in the 80s. So yeah, we were talking about Percy Sutton just this morning, and Stanford is super hard to get into as well, Mr. Rocket Scientist. How the fuck did you do that?
But you know, but come on, you keep it. Listen, in 1980, nobody fucking knew Stanford. I was working out at a gym, the Olympia Gym out in Ridgewood on Fresh Pond Road, and all the guys there, you know, were like, "You going to Stanford?" I go, "Yeah, this is Connecticut. That's not too far." No, that's California. The only reason people know Stanford now is because of college football, man. Nobody knew fucking Stanford back then. The only reason I picked Stanford is, one, because you got to get out of a class if you went to see a college counselor. And I had a calculus test, and I was like, not the greatest in math. I'm like, man, I gotta get out of this thing. How am I gonna get out of this thing? And then some woman in a hallway, it was literally someone in the hallway looks at me and says, "Hey," and I go, "Hey," and she's like, "Come in here for a second." And I go, "Okay, cool." And she brings me into the room and she goes, "I'm from Stanford, and you know, and we're half an hour from the beach, half an hour from, you know, San Francisco." And that's pretty much my pitch. That was it.
Right.
So I applied, but you know, I had to take.
We always gravitate to the women that pay attention to us. Yeah.
Well, you know, she could have murdered me in there, but it seemed legit, and I got out of the calculus class. So you know.
So what did you end up? What's the word? Majoring in at Stanford?
Yeah, well, Stanford doesn't like to allow that they teach a trade, so I went in there to be a biology. Is why I kind of went there. I was going to be a marine biologist, and after first quarter taking a chemistry class, I was like, you know, that means I was in class with a lot of pre-med types. I was like, man, I'm not going to work this hard. I worked hard to get here. You know, I want to do some colleging, you know. So I said, what else can I do that they will pay me for? And I said, well, I like to write. And so two professors emerged from the mist and said, I don't know what you want to do in life, but you should do this. And one was a linguistics guy, and he really liked the piece I'd written on California skateboarders speak. And he goes, you know, you could publish this in journals. And the other guy was a magazine guy in the communications department, Bill Rivers. And in the cover of my book, I thank him, because he was like, I don't know what you intend to do for life, but you should probably work in magazines. I go, okay, journalism. Stanford doesn't teach journalism; they teach communications. So that's what I did. And if you know, anybody who knows the hardcore, I mean, I was writing for Ripper, Flipside, Maximum Rock and Roll. I mean, I was right, but that wasn't my, you know, I was writing for magazines before then. So that's something I've done. That's probably the most consistent long-term thing I've ever done. I sent my first letter to Esquire trying to get in there when I was like 10, you know. Yeah.
That's great, man. I mean, that's really great that you gravitated to that. I mean, writing is, you know, I wish I would have sort of went in that direction a little, because one thing I've learned being a film director and being, you know, is having the ability to write is a great capacity to have, man. And it's just like guys that I'm always in awe of people that, you know, for me, like the Oscars and all that, the one thing I really always pay attention was original script, original screenwriting. To me, that's impressive. Not adapting it from a book, you know, but to come up with just an original screenplay, that to me is, in my world, that's like, wow.
You know, when my novel, when they were in talks to make a movie out of it, right?
Mhm.
And so I had this big high-powered agency called Writers and Artists, or Agents and Writers, some shit like that. Angela Chang was the woman's name.
Right.
And she was like, we're going to put together a pack. And I understand how the business works. She's going to put together a package for your book. And she was super excited. She goes, we got Steven Soderbergh directing. And George Clooney will play your lead, and we're gonna get Joe Esterhaus maybe to work on the screen. Like, oh, wait. First of all, Soderbergh, what the fuck has that guy done? No, keep in mind, this is before Crash, right? So all he had done was Sex, Lies, and Videotape. I go, I like that, but that wasn't. And Clooney, all that guy's done is a TV show. What are we, Clooney and Joe Esterhaus? I'm the screenwriter, and at that point, you could just feel her kind of pulling back and going, he's an idiot.
It's funny you should bring that up, because we had a big discussion around here. Let me put my hand over, but I went through today. I have a contract on the table, to pitch something in Hollywood, and you can see this is all marked up. Yep. But I'm talking about it with my dad, and we're all a little bit older now, but I'm very conscious and wary of being that guy. Like my name,
I know.
Of torpedoing it, and I've seen it. People have done it with projects. Well, I'm not, unless my name, So the dance here, in the dance here, is sort of finding a comfortable medium where you're not torpedoing the goddamn thing.
Yeah, but you don't also want your book that then turns into a movie to suddenly be a movie about penguins in tuxedos.
That's right. That's right.
So
that's the dance.
Yeah.
That's
Crespo. I knew somebody named Crespo that I went to camp with. This can't be the same Crespo, right?
Charlie Crespo is our boy. He's a big New York City music historian, a great supporter of music, and a writer himself. He's so when you go out west.
Yeah.
Was there a point where you were like, yo, I got to start a hardcore band, Whipping Boy? Like, how did you go? Like,
I tell you, I credit New York City Department of Parks. And because I had a job before the summer of 1980 working for the New York City Department of Parks.
Nice.
And then it was a weird job, man. I went. I had like I had an in, like this guy I was supposed to see, like Joe DeHaro, I think. I can't remember his name, and he wasn't there. And everybody was like rude, and they were like, just shitty city job thing. And I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving. So I left. I'm walking out the building, and some guy comes running after me, and it was like, hey. I go, yeah. He goes, you want a job? And this wasn't the guy I had come to see. This was just a guy.
Hey, you.
Yeah. And he was like, I said, sure. That's what I came here for. So they gave me a job, and it was a cush job for me, right? I was like head of a mobile recreation group, just supposed to cruise in the parks and entertain kids. That's it. That was the summer, right? So I'm going to shows at night, chasing kids with hula hoops in the day. And but of course they sent us to the worst parks, and I guess that's why they gave me the job, because they wanted the guy who would look at in place at the worst park.
Hey, listen, we need to fill this job. Hey, don't let that black dude walk out of here.
Right. So
let that black dude in there.
So in 1981, they said,
"Oh, there you go for sure."
Yeah, they said, well, we really liked having you. You want to come back? I go, yeah, but I'm not going to the crackhead park. Well, there was no crack there. I'm not going to these ghetto parks. I'm not doing that because nobody's there. Nobody wants to play with hula hoops, And they said, well, what would you like? I go, an office job. So they get me an office job out in Queens, which I figured out in Flushing. And my only job was to cover for my boss. I finally figured out. So I just sat in. I got it. I'm sitting in an office all day doing nothing. And so I started doing what I do. I start making plans. I'm going to start a magazine. I'm going to start a band as soon as I get back to California. And both of those things are things I did immediately when I got back to California. I started the Birth of Tragedy magazine, and I just told everybody I want to start a band. And somebody said, oh, there's this football player who got hurt, but he plays guitar, and he wants to, he's into that hard punk shit too. And I remember
he's into that punk rock shit too.
Yeah. Oh, come on, man. You've been in California in 1980, 81. People just like, you were really You know, I had women dump me just because they thought I was like literally like out of like not sane.
Oh,
Because
you too?
well, I mean, just for the music.
Listen,
Just for the music.
when I shaved my head in 1981,
Yep.
That was it. Because and I've said this before on the shows, the only people that were shaving their heads in 1981 were Marines and psychopaths.
That's right. That's right.
There was no reference point.
And forget about tattoos. Nobody knew. Knew nothing about tattoos.
Or a black dude with a mohawk.
Exactly. I got arrested, and I went to jail, and they take your clothes away, and so when they put you in the cell, you got like prison issue, but and a mohawk. And so like in 1983, and nobody could figure out what they just gave me wide berth. They couldn't figure out like why this black dude had a mohawk. It wasn't like it was in the newspaper, and there was no internet, and there was one cop in there who just kept fucking with me. And he was like fucking with me over the hairstyle, like he thought it would hurt my feelings. And at one point he said something like, "Hey, who's your barber?" Which was the same joke he had been making. He hadn't been able to get beyond that. And I go, "Probably the same guy who gave you the diet plan you got."
It was merciless. I remember I had sideburns, and they teased me to, "Hey, Elvis." Like I got for 3 days straight, in Manhattan Central booking. Yeah, Elvis. Like, because I had friggin' sideburns,
But you know what? You know what I was in for? This is the biggest. I was arrested for false information to a police officer.
Oh, Jesus.
He wanted to know who I was. Some bullshit, trying to give me an $80 ticket for driving my moped between two bollards, And I mean, that I was driving a moped. I guess you could arrest me for that. But, they don't like it when you tell them that your name is Abraham Lincoln. So.
Yeah, right. So yeah, exactly. Or Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah.
So I have a memory of you being in New York a lot around then. And one image that is really I don't want to say iconic, but this image here. Tell us a little bit about what's going on here.
That is Nancy Burrell helped me correctly identify it, and she could identify it because of some of the. If you were to pull out on the first of all, Springer from SSD's brother took this photograph.
That's right. That's Phil and Flash. I have the whole roll of film. Phil and Flash took it. Yep.
And we argued back and forth on it, and I can't remember. I think I originally said this was the Paramount show in Staten Island.
No.
After which it was a Riot, and she corrected me and said this was at CB's.
That's right.
And then I finally, after I looked at people in the crowd, like behind me to my right, the two black guys, but the black guy closest to me, that's actually Pete Guy, who, fun fact, his father was the lead singer for the Coasters.
Oh, wow.
And he lived 4 blocks away from me.
Yakety yak, don't talk back.
Yakety yak. Yeah, he did the high voice, not the deep, not the deep voice. And he lived on Winthrop, 4 blocks away from me in Flatbush. Yeah, that's right. Good for you, Nancy. I admitted that you were right. So this was you know what? And I know it. Hold on, I have it right here. But I was all over, man. That's like my porn star friend, Mr. Marcus, says. Eugene gets around. I was like, you got photographs of me in Detroit, L.A. at the Olympic auditorium. I mean,
you for sure, you were around. And this was a Bad Brains retirement shows. As a matter of fact, the exact date of that picture is the show is Sunday. Is December 26, 1982. The show was the Bad Brains, SSD Control, Frontline, and Antidote.
I tell you, man, that's right. That's
it right there.
That's
I got
it, right. Bro. Good for you. That's it. Yeah. And
that's why I get the big bucks over here, bro.
I was a psychotic SSD. Look, I haven't bought a lot of hardcore gear, even just from being back then, whatever. But I did break off and finally buy an SSD shirt, and that wasn't too long ago either. Actually, finally.
So here's a shot from that show that you've never seen.
Okay.
I don't think it's ever been out there.
All right, let's see.
Because like I said, I have that roll of film, and I'm not at liberty. I don't put the stuff up on the internet. They're filling Flash's photos. You know, here's one that probably never seen.
Oh no, I've seen this before.
Oh, you have? You've seen this one?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, because all my jujitsu friends were like, Eugene, what the fuck were you doing? I go, what do you mean? It's a show.
Yeah,
and
you see.
they're telling me, they just thought it was very just strange that I was there. And I see a lot of people. I see Dave Dichter.
Yeah,
I see
Jimmy
Jimmy
G's back there.
Jimmy Gestapo. When did he change it? Why did he drop the Gestapo? I always
Listen. It's like, come on. It's
Yeah,
like the Washington. It's like the Washington Redskins.
I guess
bro.
he had.
You
I
know,
guess
it's
he had
like,
to.
come on. It's like Jimmy Gestapo. It's
Yeah,
like,
I guess. Yeah.
You know, it's like, hey, it's
I'd
like
have
starting a baseball team called, hey, we're the Boston Chinks. It ain't gonna work, bro, in this day and age.
I guess, yeah. And then that looks like Randy over his right shoulder. I can't really see.
Oh, over Jimmy's?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I see. What's his? Oh, yeah.
The thickset guy.
Yeah.
Randy, yeah. So.
Yep.
So yeah, that's me with my sleeve hat and.
Al Baril says I broke my guitar. That's the infamous show where SSD. You know, that was. Listen, that show, I was there. Wow. That was an amazing show. It was, I believe it was the first time I ever saw Antidote play, a band I ended up joining,
Yep.
you know,
I remember
after that.
Yep.
You know, SSD was mind-blowing.
As Al will remember this. I mean, again, he helped me get shows in Boston for the Whipping Boy tour, and people were like, well, how did you? And I was like, I think I just wrote him. I think those days I couldn't even afford the phone call, so I think Al and I were like writing letters back and forth. So yeah,
absolutely. That's how we did it, right?
That's right. Yeah. And the Boston show on the Whipping Boy tour was insane, actually, because it was packed, and at the end of the night, Billy Ruan comes up to me with an envelope and he's trembling, and I said, great. I open the envelope and there's like $4 in it. And I go, yo, man, this is not the guarantee was $100, and he was like, yeah, you know, or $200. I had something crazy. We were excited to get it, and he goes, but everybody snuck in. I was like, man. That was the days when I was like taking gear from the club. Like, look, if you can't pay, I'll just take the gear. And he was like, man, I can't. And I was like this poor trembling guy. And then I left Boston, and people like Billy Ruan, oh, that guy is rich. His family is rich.
Yep.
The old Boston Ruans. I was
like, yeah, bro. Oh, yeah.
And then he died, and people were like, oh, Billy. And I was like, don't say anything. These early days of the internet, don't say anything. And then finally, you know, it's me. I couldn't stop myself. And I was like, that mother, when I'll be sorry for him when he gives me my $196. And people are like, oh, Eugene, yeah, okay.
Listen, man, you know, you make a deal, bust the deal, face the wheel. You
That's
know
right.
what I mean? It's just like, yo, especially in that world, man. You're a band and you're touring, and we're talking gas money and stuff like that. Like, yo, be honorable. You know, people snuck in. You made a deal. You know, go take it out from your mother's pillow. Be an honorable. Be a fucking honorable fucking promoter. And back then, you know, it was rare.
Yep.
So, all right. So Whipping Boy, and you guys got out there and toured in 1982.
What was funny about Boston, it's so crazy. What's funny about Boston is that Alan was telling me, well, it's hard to get shows here because, you know, the mafia controls the clubs and the drinking. And I was like, mafia? What mafia? I never heard anything about Boston mafia. He goes, the Irish mafia. And for some reason that, you know, my cultural understanding was so narrow then that I just thought that was hilarious. Like, you know, if I thought
Irish mafia.
yeah, exactly. I thought of Irish guys. I thought of like a leprechauns and the Irish Spring and Top of the Morning to you. And he was
like, with the black mob.
yeah. And he was like, no. And so years later, when I did the Fight book, and I was back in Southie, and I was interviewing Kevin Weeks, who was
of course,
Jimmy Bolger.
Kevin Weeks was what's his name? Sort of
Whitey Bulger's
right-hand man.
Right-hand man, yeah. And he was telling me about the clubs they controlled. And we spent a lot of time together hanging around, driving around. And I was like, see, this is the guy that by proxy Al was telling me about, that I stupidly was thinking were like a joke. I was like, oh my God, you know.
Yeah, no, listen, you know, I was there in Boston in early on in 81, and I was a part of that early thing. And, you know, some of those clubs like the Rat, They were the guys that worked there were Southie, like criminals, thugs who just wanted to beat people up and hurt people.
Oh, hey man, listen, I got beaten up at the Ritz more times than I care to think about. And one of the cats who almost threw me down a flight of stairs, I was saved because my mother was there that night. I've written about that before.
Oh, jeez.
Right. So this guy, I knew this guy was a psychotic, just brutal fuck. He probably weighed about 240. Again, I was 16, 17 then. Years later, years pass, and a friend of mine has opened up this store called NY911 down near the Trade Center, and they sell gear to cops and fire department.
Yeah, sure.
And then he made so much money from that after 9/11 that he, fucking sold the business, retired. The city tried to chase him for the money because technically it's our copyright, and he bought a house in Jersey and he's out. But he started telling me about this cop would come in once a month to buy a nightstick. And he goes, Eugene, I don't know if you've seen cop nightsticks, but these are hard. These are hard. And I go, what was happening to the nightsticks? He goes, he was breaking them. I go, like what? Doing what? He goes, on people. Turns out that cop is the same cop that threatened to throw me down the stairs, was one of the bouncers at the Ritz. I was like, what?
Is that right? Chucky Brown is saying you went to see Killing Joke with your mom at the Ritz?
Yeah, that's it. That was the show. Yeah, his research department is great. Yeah, I went to see Killing Joe, and some bouncer. I didn't know he was a bouncer. Some guy like bumps into my shoulder, and
what the fuck?
Yeah, and then I look. He's walking by me, and I look at him like, what? And then he turns around and goes, "You got a problem?" He comes back to my face. He goes, "You got a problem?" I said, "You got a problem?"
Oh,
and he throws a shot. And, I was already boxing at the boys club then. So I ducked the shot. He caught me right here. And I remember because I had knuckle indentations right here. And I go to bring my hand back and then next thing I know, my feet are dangling on the floor because the other bouncers were following him, were behind me. And they took me to the stairs, and that cop and the off-duty cop was there. But they looked at my mother. We look enough alike. And they were like, cool. And they let me go. I was like, whoo.
Hey, I got to.
Of course, I later ended up being a bouncer, and then I was like, you know what? I was a better bouncer than those guys. Those guys were assholes. At first, I figured maybe I was out of line. No, those guys were assholes.
Hey, I gotta break off and do a little sponsor shout out in the snap, but I want to tease when we come back. We are going to get into the infamous Paramount Riot, the Punks and Skins versus the Guidos. The what?
Cousins.
It was the Cousins versus the Punks/Skins. Dead Kennedys, DOA Kraut SSD Control Show on July 16th, 1982. When we come back, we'll see you in a bit. What's happening? It's the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, and Your Core Hardcore fan page. New York Hardcore Comics opened back in 2013 when lifelong friends Debo the Pro and Lee Fraley combined their collections and obsessions for comic books, punk rock, toys, statues, magic, the gathering, and all things horror. The store is located at 117 Main Street in Dobbs Ferry, New York. If you want to support them during this pandemic, please contact them via email at New York Hardcore Comics at Gmail. Also, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards. It's located in Lakewood, Colorado. It's the Rocky Mountain headquarters for all things punk, hardcore, and metal. Established in 2013, they have the largest selection of records, CDs, shirts, stickers, patches, and accessories between Chicago and LA. From the pit to the ditch, they got your back. Get in touch with them at www.chainreactionrecords.com. Also, want to let you know, if you don't know, now you know, there is a Patreon page. Come, don't be shy. Stop being a lurker. Come out of the shadows and join us. It is our community within the community. There it is. Please support this show. We could use your support. Also, subscribe to the show. There, if you're watching this in rerun, there is a subscribe button there. Please subscribe to the show so you get alerts when the show is happening and what's happening with the show. Also, underneath here, right here, underneath there is a merchandise. There is merchandise for sale. Go check it out. There's the New York Hardcore logo merch designed by Stephen Huey. There's Do Good Things and Good Things Come to You. There's the New York Hardcore shower curtain. There's the doggy hoodie. There's all kinds of cool stuff. Please support the show. All right? Don't make me come looking for you. Don't make me send Eugene and Arnie Stone after you. Go looking for you. So that said, what else? You know what I want to do? I want to shout out my a couple new patrons: Christopher Hoffman, Riz Faruqi, John Siciliano, Scott Alder, Thomas Rudy, Victor Moglienski, Robert Meyerson, John Bernays, Christopher Moores, and Maddie Solberg. Solberg. Thank you for being patrons. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for supporting the show. Thank you for supporting the show so all these other burgers that are lying there on the grill, not contributing anything, can enjoy the show. So might be time to flip them over on the grill. That said, what else? Oh, the New York Hardcore Chronicles live comments crew is a page on Facebook. Go check that out. It's this community here. When the show's not happening, they gather there. It's not my page. I don't run it, but it's certainly really great. It is run by Upstate Rick. Thank you, Rick. I know you're not lurking anymore. Thank you, brother. Tommy Prinz. Wow, welcome, bro. Welcome to the show. How do you spell cuisines? All right, we'll find out. We'll find out about that. Okay. We'll ask Eugene when he comes back on. Let's see what else. Everything else covered here. Just want to make sure everything's okay. Oh, you know who says hello? Right? What's up? What's up, everybody? Back here. I gotta hide him when I leave because my dad will throw him out. You don't want dead things in the apartment, so they'll get thrown out. Where is Sid today? Sid is on Sundays. Rap Bones is on Wednesdays. So there you go. Rap Bones Wednesday, Sid Sunday. Yes, Jim is back. Yep. I pledge allegiance to the New York Hardcore Chronicles. Sid in his Madball shirt will be on Sunday. Yes, feeling the love, Rick. We love you, bro. That said, I think we're covered. We'll take another break later on. Yeah, I feel like I'm forgetting something. Is everything okay? Yeah, whatever. Let's bring our guest back on, Mr. Eugene S. Robinson. What's up, bro? So, you know what?
Cuisines. K-U-G-I-N-E-S. Cuisines.
C-U-G-I-N-E-S?
Yeah.
What is the derivative? Where does it come from?
Cousin?
Yeah. Like, yo, that's my cousin Vinny?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know?
Oh, I forgot to say hi to Laura Zeitlin. Hi, Laura. Sorry. Sorry about that, Laura. Thank you. And I know Laura was super excited when we announced that Eugene was coming on the show.
Laura and I go way back.
That's right. That's right. So let's talk about this infamous show. Let me set it up. Let me give a little setup. Let me clear the deck a little bit. January 16th, 1982, a hot summer night in Staten Island in New York City. This was a big show. I mean, up to the point, I think this was the biggest show to come along. It had a little of everything at this point. It had the Dead Kennedys. Oh, wow, the house phone's ringing. Wow. Hey, Pop. I usually have it right here. So Dead Kennedys are headlining. Then DOA from Canada, Kraut, Hometown Cookin', and SSD Control from Boston. So this was the big banger, man. Mm-hmm. And the way to get out there was you had no. So
I thought the answering machine was going to come on. It was going to be like bill collectors and shit, you know.
Yeah. No, that's what it is. That's what it always is around here. So hold on. You got that, Pop?
I got a bill collector called me once. I was at dinner with my kids, and the guy he said something that enraged me. He was like, you just got to make this thing right. At one point, he goes, be a man. And I'm sitting there with like, two kids who are like 5 and 6, and I just said, I didn't raise my voice. I just said, you know what? I will kill you. I will find you, and I will kill you. KILL, kill you
and kill you.
And
Right.
I was like, whoa. I was like, Jason, because he gave me his name. I said, you're easy to find, easy. And I hang up the phone, and my kids are looking at me trying to figure out, Dad, did you just threaten that man's life? Yes, I did.
Here is a photo that I took. I took this photo going into the show that night. Look at that.
Yeah. There you go.
I took that photo going into the show that night. It was a great show.
Okay, so keep your photo there for a second. You see if you go to right where it says dead, and there's a sign there. Okay, as far as I know, that's right under there, like 3 feet, is right where it all jumped off. That's where I was standing with Lazar when the match got lit.
Tell us about the jump off.
Okay, so it was a great show. At that point now, I'd already seen DOA way too many times, but so I wasn't. God love Joey. I just, I could. How many times can you listen to Fucked Up Ronnie? Sorry, but I was excited to see Kraut because Doug was a friend at that point, and SSD, of course, right? Like I was like, and the Dead Kennedys, I saw Microwave and all these cats I knew from San Francisco. So it was a good. Sam from Fang just popped up there. It was like, this was a weird meeting of Coast for me. I was very happy to have my West Coast friends there. It was great. And so I'm standing out front talking to Lazar, who was fixing her belt. She had one of these like motorcycle chain belts. And some cuisine comes up and says something to her like hey, like no, they apparently he had said something to her before, and they had to, like, he came up to continue the conversation, and the way he continued the conversation was, something, you bitch, and she snatched her belt out and whipped it across his face, right? And
the chain belt.
The chain belt. And in those days, I didn't need, people talk about trigger warnings. I didn't need too many trigger warnings. It's like, I didn't know Lazar super well at that point, but we were friends. And I was like, that's it. So start punching the guy. He scrambles off. And I was like, that was pretty easy. The guy runs back with a bat and then throws a bat. He throws it like a spear, and it sticks in the wind, like right under that sign. I believe it was a pizza parlor. It sticks into the window of the pizza parlor like a spear. And then it was madness. And then it was, that's what I remember. And then ultimately standing on the hood of Boobie's monkey shit brown rust-colored station wagon Woody as we rode to the ferry. People standing on the car and like running around the car, and it was. Go ahead. It was nice to win a fight, So.
Yeah. I remember like dude went and got some of his boys.
Yeah.
And there was sort of a standoff. There was like a, what do you call it? Like a demilitarized zone. Yeah. Like it was like they'd sort of cross over and there'd be like an altercation, and then they'd retreat, and then some of our people would go, and it would go back. It went back and forth, and there was broken glass everywhere.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is, people weren't. They were used to this kind of reality of like, oh, you punk faggots. And they were used to punk rock, right? They weren't used to hardcore, and certainly not hardcore en masse. In
like,
movies,
you fucking Devo.
Well, in movies, Chucky's right. In movies, like I'm always watching movies forever going, oh, I'm sure, and the cops don't show up. But in this instance, this went on for felt like 45 minutes to an hour, and not a single cop, not a cop car, nothing, right? And I'm not giving them a hard time. Why show up for something like that? Screw it, But so we made it back to the ferry, and that was my first riot. There were other subsequent riots in San Jose and LA, but this was my first and favorite riot because it was a clear-cut win for us. So
let me share another picture. This is a photo that I took. This was the first photo I ever posted on the New York Hardcore Chronicles page. I took this from behind Kraut drummer Johnny Feedback. You could see how many people are on the stage, but this was behind Johnny Feedback, and this is a photo. I don't think.
Could you go back to that photo?
Yeah. Hold on, let me find it.
I'm just trying to make sure that wasn't me on the far right of the photo.
Yeah, right. Hold on. Where is that? Paramount Theater. Oh, here we go. Here you go. Let's see. This is Kraut at the Paramount. Far right?
Yeah, this is like right to the top right of the set. Let's send it to me because I used to have red suspenders too.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Look.
Yeah.
Sure.
You'd have to send it to me. I'd have to blow it up, but it looks like that could be me.
That looks like it could be. And here's another one. I know, Al, if you're still watching, I don't think this has ever seen the light of day. This is one of my personal photo in my collection. Here's a shot I took of, this is Al, Mike Dean from Gangrene, and one of the guys from Negative Effects, like watching the headlining band, the headlining band play. This is what.
Look at those kids.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Hey, here, you can appreciate this.
We played a show with Gangrene at some point. I don't remember where. I love those guys. I thought they
Get a load of this. What? This is what it looks like today.
Oh, man. So what is it now? Oh, it looks like a Korean travel agency. It looks like.
Yeah, it's like some sort of a. It actually was under. I think they were trying to rent it, but the Paramount Theater is just sitting there rotting away. It's sort of a, it's a bit of a. It's one of those. The thing is, in Staten Island, not too far from there, I went to a show there recently, a blues show. They spent the Wellmont Theater. They put like a couple $1 million into resurrecting the Wellmont Theater. So of course, this is not too far from it. This one there's no hope for this place.
Tell you, last time I was out there, I was doing a video package on the mob, and we went out to Staten Island to go to Paul Castellano's house, right?
And what, Todd Hill in Staten Island?
Yeah. He doesn't live there anymore because, of course, he's dead.
Well, dude.
Yeah. He bought it at Spark Steakhouse.
Yeah, that's right. Him and Tommy Bellotti.
Yeah, the guy who lives there now is a plumber. That's pretty good. He's an Albanian plumber. Wow.
Of course he is.
So I send my video guy there, and security guy kind of waves him off, and I go, "Hey, man, you're a member of the press. You're a fourth estate. You
act
get
like
in,
you
get in there, and I'll be over in the car." So I said, dude, I got like a walkie-talkie, and I said, dude, back in to film the exterior of Paul Costello's, the Albanian gangster who lives there, clearly a gangster. Now the whole security squad is running for him, and I'm in the car. I was like, "Come on, Tom, you can make it." So he makes it back to the car,
that Paul Castellano house, of course, was the house that they got in and planted bugs, and that's what really set the whole thing off. Yep. They planted the bugs in that house. That's where he was bad-mouthing Gotti and everybody, that's what led to his demise.
Well, and fun fact was that he was, of course, actually really related to Clemenza in The Godfather.
Is that right?
Yeah. Yep.
To Clemenza, to
the actor.
Well, to the older Clemenza, not Bruno Kirby, who played.
No. I'm talking Godfather Part 1.
Okay, yeah. Well, Godfather Part 1 was Bruno Kirby. The later Godfather was when Clemenza was.
No.
Oh no, I got it wrong. No. Luca Brasi. Luca
Brasi was Lenny Montana, who I've written about. The professional wrestler guy.
I worked with him. I worked with him on a film set.
That's what I quoted you in the piece. So that's why we're both getting.
And the whole time we were like, "Yo, please
do the line.
Do Luca Brasi for us." And finally, he would go with the character to go, "Yo,
on your daughter's wedding." Yeah. That's right. I interviewed you for that piece. No. I'm talking about Richard, the actor whose name Richard Castellano. the one who played Clemenza, the fat guy. You're like,
Yeah.
take the gun, leave the gun, take the cannoli. That guy.
Take the gun, right? Exactly.
So he's actually really.
Yeah, Lori got it. Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That's great. So, also when you were coming up, you got into bodybuilding and martial arts, right? Tell us a little bit about that and the discipline that came along with that.
No, that came first, right? I mean, I think I saw like everybody else. I think my first martial art movie was Five Fingers of Death. And then it was Enter the Dragon, because it's just like the Wu-Tang. You go to 42nd Street. What do you? There's nothing, Or
we're the same age, man.
Yeah.
We're the same age. So it was like you go to 42nd Street and you see, Fist of Fury, The Chinese Connection,
right.
And
for like 75 cents, right?
Right. And you spend the whole day in there cutting out from school.
So I said, screw that. I started taking Shotokan at the church in the basement of the church around the corner, then started boxing at the boys club, then got to high school, got on the wrestling team. My mother kicked me off the wrestling team because she says interfering with your studies. But then I started lifting weights when I was 9. I got my first weight set. And, but by the time I was 16, I was actually making some headway, and 17 was the year I first started competing in bodybuilding. Wow. And Andy Bastinto, the head of the New York Gym Association, NYGA, he would do all these shows out in Brighton Beach, Bath Beach, bodybuilding teenage shows.
Wow.
And I was training out at the Olympia in Ridgewood.
Was that a thing, bodybuilding teenage?
Oh yeah! Oh fuck yeah! Big kids, big kids in, yeah. So
big cuisines.
Big cuisines. I was natural then. Then. So, but it was all right because it was the days of Frank Zane, so people were going. More streamlined. But by the time I got into, so I was doing that, and like Chucky mentioned, because he's this great chronicler, he goes, I was also going to, I was a disco dance instructor in the late 70s, man. I would teach the hustle, the spank, and the rock, and I would teach at Xenons, and I would teach at New York.
No way.
And so I would go like my weekends were like one night, like a Friday, I'd go to Studio 54, and then Saturday I go to CB's. This was like and that's why like someplace like the Mud Club ended up making perfect sense. And then Booby and I, and then Rabies, I think we sometimes used to bounce. The guy Richard at the door at the Mud Club was figured it's easier to have us be nice than not nice, and he would say, watch the door for me and then I'll let you in free later. So we'd work for a couple hours watching the door, throwing people out, and then get in. So yeah, it was a crazy. There were no.
You did some. You got into amateur boxing very young as well, right?
Boys club. And then that was fun. Yeah, and then it went from there to, I think I started taking Japanese jiu-jitsu, but it was real sporadic. It wasn't until after college that I actually started really pouring it on. So like I'm 22 and started taking and was competing in karate competitions before some guy said, hey, you should, actually I did a karate competition in San Jose and I won it. And this guy, this big 300-pound guy, said, I want you to come work for me. I go, I got a job. And he goes, no, this is a nighttime job. And that's when I became a bouncer. And that's also when I discovered Muay Thai. And then through that, what was they call combat wrestling, and then Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which I've been doing 6 times a week, every week for about the past 10 years before the freaking shutdown. So, and competed in that as well. So Harley and I have bonded on, and the people who are still in the world, the worlds collide. Like there's Billy, who's a black belt. I'm a brown belt. Harley is a black belt. Ray, at this point, Capo is, I think, a black belt.
Roger's into jiu-jitsu.
Roger, he's a blue belt.
And Billy.
When last time Agnostic Front played San Francisco, I went. I was like, "Hey, blue belt." There's like this whole, hardcore. We're equals. Jiu-jitsu, you're a blue belt. So
did you? You did do some amateur. Did you do some amateur boxing?
No, I never did any amateur boxing. Like not like Golden Gloves or anything like that. Okay. Just at the boys' club, like fucking around. the competitive stuff I've done has been for mostly Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and karate, where like there's video out there and stuff.
Yeah.
And then the Fight Club, there's video of, but there's only video from San Francisco had a pretty thriving underground fight club scene, and there's video from my first night there where I got knocked out and then choked out. I don't show that.
Hey, you
I
know
talk
what?
about it, but I don't show that. But then I
Talking
went
about-
on to do it right, huh?
Talking about some of this amateur stuff. Hey, Dad! I'm going to bring my dad on. Hold on. Hey, Pop.
How
Hey,
you
Pop,
doing?
you did some amateur boxing, right? What were we talking about today about when you went down to Miami to be the next great Jewish fighter?
You have a lot of reverb.
Yep. It's okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear.
So when you tell me about when you went down to Miami and how when you came up against, some of the big boys, what happened?
Well, just quickly, I was pretty good in the street. My idea was never to hit the ground. I never hit the ground in my whole teenage life. And I picked my fights pretty good, but I had a good reputation. And so I decided one time with my friend Sid, we're going to go to Miami and I'm going to go to the Fifth Street gym and I'm going to become a boxer. So we took a bus ride. We had $24. We went to the Fifth Street gym and, I started sparring with some of the pros.
Oh.
And we were getting I was getting like $20, $10, they didn't have a sparring partner. And then you find out, hey,
Yep.
You think you're good, and now you run across some pros. So after a while, I remember going to the bathroom and pissing blood. My ribs are thinking, I said, no.
Yeah.
No. And that was really the end of my boxing career. But what I did is I used to fight at the PAL, the Police and
Yeah.
Yep. And the reason I did that is, and I never entered the Golden Gloves because I didn't want to lose my street reputation by losing a fight in public.
Yep.
So I never did that. It was not my. So I fought. No one knew I was fighting, and that kind of ended my career. But I've been a boxing fan for life, and I did a HBO documentary on Muhammad Ali. I filmed with Willie Pep, with
Yeah.
with
Hey, Arnie, let me tell you. I'll tell you a story. So I'm in Atlanta, right? I'm at Evander Holyfield's house, right? So we're hanging out at the house. I'm interviewing him for the fight book. And at one point, like I used to do with a lot of people who I interviewed, I said, hey, Evander, I know you got a ring here somewhere. Why don't you say you and me go a couple rounds, right? And he laughs at me, right? And I was like, you're not talking to just a journalist. Like, I actually know how to do this. You might want to. Right. And he's like, and then finally I said, hey, you know what? If you don't do this, I'm going to write that you were scared. And then, right? Because I'm an idiot, right? Like, I'm actually like, and he's like, no. And so later he's driving me back to my hotel and we're sitting at a red light. And I hit him with the big question. Tyson said you were cheating during that fight, said that, that you were fighting dirty. And that's why he did. And he was like, and so in the front seat of the car, he's driving at a red light. He starts showing me a combination. He's seat buckled in, and he was so fast behind. He was so fast that I actually started to sweat and got chills. Because I knew if I had stepped in the ring with him, that like just forget it.
He was probably one of the toughest guys of all time. He was just a tough guy. I remember one thing about boxing, and Drew was on the set with me. We did some filming with Willie Pep, who at one time was a featherweight champion.
Yep.
I think he won his first 100 fights without a loss.
Yep.
So he walks onto the set, and he says, nobody here knows who I am, and nobody did. That really got to me.
Yeah.
Now, no matter how famous you are, and whatever it is, you have your time. It comes and goes, and yeah. I mean, this ties in, but these cats, I've got post-fight stories about LaMotta and Jerry Cooney and this girl at a hardcore show. Yeah, look at that, man. Wow. So this girl runs.
Hold on, that's me with my the straight head, straight cat, straight rockabilly hair. Willie, the great Willie
man.
Pep, and Dad.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Go ahead,
the thing is, you see that's the mistake that people make. They'd see Willie Pep there, and they go, "He's an old man." Nah. These guys were dangerous until they shoveled dirt on them.
That's right.
You know, I'm not even. Look, there's a hardcore show, San Francisco. This woman runs up to me. Some guys clearly bugging her. You know, in those old days, you just hit somebody first, and then whatever. And so I look at this guy, and I go, "Are you bothering her?" And he goes, I was just talking to her. And he goes, you know who I am, don't you? And he looks familiar, and I'm not quite sure. And I was like, nah, I don't. I just know you were bothering her. He goes, no, I wasn't bothering. I was just talking to her. I'm Jerry Cooney.
Wow.
And I was like thinking, man, again, almost narrowly averted death. I mean, Jerry Cooney wasn't the greatest fighter, but I guarantee you he's not taking any shots from me.
I saw after I didn't do any filming, but I had Jake LaMotta and Rocky Graziano sometimes in casting sessions. And I used to see Jake LaMotta coming down the street. I didn't know him. I used to say, but I'll tell you something, he was in his 80s.
Yep.
You would not want to mess with him.
Yep.
He looked fearsome.
Yeah. I asked the guy who he met LaMotta. This guy was my agent for a period of time. Met LaMotta in a bar, and LaMotta's girlfriend was like 30. And LaMotta is in his 80s, right? And she was a singer, and she says, "Oh, I do this karaoke thing." He goes, "Oh, I got a karaoke machine. I'll give you just. Where do you live?" And LaMotta leans out from the bar, and goes, "No, you go through me on that." He's like, "Oh, no, she lives close." He goes, "I said you go through me on that." He goes, "Okay, Jay." And I was like, "Fuck, the guy's in his 80s. Do you think?" He was like, "No, no way, no way at all could I take him now."
I was from the Rocky Graziano school. We didn't train. We smoked. We're going to fight. Let's fight.
Yeah.
I don't believe we trained too much, but that was different. Nowadays, all athletes are just better trained. And all right. Anyway.
All right, Pop. Thanks, Pop.
You know when you stop fighting? When you get punched in the face and it hurts. Don't ever fight again.
Yep.
All right, Pop. I'll see you for dinner.
Good to see you, Eugene.
All right, Arnie. Thanks, man. That was great.
Yeah, man. Listen, it's this is what we do here. Let's do this. Let me do my last round of shout outs, and then we'll come back and we'll take some questions from around the world.
Beautiful.
All right. There you go. It is the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, and we are sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, Your Core Hardcore fan page, and The Organic Grill. The Texas Silver Rush is a jewelry design firm and boutique store located in the birthplace of the Texas country music scene in Fredericksburg, Texas. They specialize in working with musicians in all music genres to design and create unique one-off pieces, as well as to style them for stage, album covers, promo photos, and social media exposure. That's what I need, man. I need some social media exposure. Hey, Pop, you want to kill your phone? You know what? My dad comes on the show, and then his phone starts blowing up. Yo, you're on the show. I think you and me got it crazy. Their client list includes Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Greg Rollet, Ringo Starr, and of course, Agnostic Front. During this current pandemic, all information and online sales are being taken at their Facebook and Instagram pages, and of course, www.texassilverrush.com. Shouting out Joe Ramini, shouting out Trish the Dish, and Stephanie and everybody down there. Listen, I get it. I get it. I listen. Drew's expression of "Come on, Dad" was the best. I get it. Even though, like we've talked about this already. You know, there's an offer on the table to put the show in a real studio with a real sponsor. And I'm grateful for that. But there is an inherent charm in doing what we're doing here, you know, from Arnie's Kitchen. And sometimes it feels a little bit like Wayne's World, but there is an inherent charm to doing this the way that we do it. And I'm not sure, you know, it's going to take a lot for me to let this go. You know what I mean? So maybe eventually, but want to remind everybody out there about a couple shows coming up on Sunday. This Sunday, We got a couple real friggin' banging shows coming up. This Sunday coming up, November 29th, is Moby, old school hardcore guy, Vatican Commandos, animal rights guy. This is going to be awesome. The show after that, get your shoes and socks on, kids. It's right around the corner. Glenn Matlock from the goddamn Sex Pistols is coming on the show. Wow, that's going to be something else. And then we got the big boy, Mike Judge, coming on. After that, we're looking forward to having Nancy Burrell on the show. Her new book, I Am Not Holding Your Coat. We're going to talk about that, little old school Philly stuff and some old school Boston hardcore stuff. Also, after that, Don't Be Shy. Coming up after that on Sunday, December 13th is Gary Meskill from the Crumb Suckers and from Propane. And then we have Todd Morse from the Offspring, H2O, and Juliet and the Licks. Then we got the big international, the Global Unity Show with Lai and Riz from Beijing and Hong Kong, respectively. Then we're doing a holiday show. You know, I'm not sure how we're going to play it yet. You know, I'd like a little bit of feedback in the chat room. I mean, does it make sense to do it on the Wednesday, 2 days before Christmas, or should we actually do the show Christmas Day? I'm not sure. I'm kind of thinking it might make sense to just stay with the regular programming and do a Wednesday, 2 days before Christmas. We'll do a holiday show. We'll bring people on from the chat room. We'll have special guests. So let me get your feedback on, should we keep it regular, like Metamucil style, or do we go off a little bit? Yes, we're excited for Meskill, some Crumb Suckers, psyched on the Mike Judge show. Absolutely, Gary Meskill. Yeah, yes, keep it real. Yes, keep it real. Keep doing it from Arnie's kitchen and from my studio apartment. Wednesday. We got to vote for Wednesday, Gina. Let's keep it. You know, we all know the show's Wednesday and Sunday. Holiday show needs to be Ray Capro dressed as an elf. Okay, I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I'm always here, so any day is good for me. I love you, Lori Dawn. You're the best. Wednesday. Okay. So Wednesday. Okay. Yeah. All right. You know, we'll keep it on. Sounds like it's going to be a Wednesday, kids. Metamucil style. Yo, it's like some kind of like Wu-Tang rap thing. Yo, I'm keeping it regular Metamucil style. Think I'll chill a while. That kind of thing. So that said, let me clear the deck here. Let's go Grease Lightning, go. Yo, what do you know? You know, it's keeping in the Staten Island theme with the Paramount Cougine versus the Punks and the Skins riot. That said, let's take some questions for our guest, Eugene S. Robinson. Let's get some questions going, please. Drop them in. Don't be shy. Let's bring our guest, spitting lyrics, yo. There we go. Let's bring Eugene back on. Hey, buddy.
There you go. Two things I was thinking about during the break. One was that fun fact. You mentioned these bands. I started thinking about Typo Negative. That at one point, a friend of mine is interviewing the guys in Typo Negative, and I go, I text him, right? He's like, I'm in the middle of the interview. I go, who you talking to now? He goes, Josh Silver. I go, oh, he and I went to elementary school together. And
no way.
And so he breaks off the interview. He goes, hey, you know Eugene? He goes, Eugene Robinson? He was like, yeah. He goes, yeah, he took me to my first rock fight. He goes, you mean rock show? He goes, no. Rock fight. We went to a rock fight. I was 9 years old in Crown Heights. Took him to a rock fight. His parents would never let him come over again. It was great.
Listen, bro, we were talking about this not too long ago.
Yep.
Like, and we actually we were goofing around with a song called Rock Fight. It's like when you choose sides
Yep.
and you pick up rocks, and
Yep.
the goal is to hit the other guy, one of the guy on the other team, in the face with
Yeah.
a rock.
Not dirt bombs either. Not dirt bombs.
Yo, rock fight.
Rocks. Right. So that was one thing I was thinking. And then Nancy's the title of her book, which I love. I'm not going to hold you coat, but she's neglecting that was a time honored hardcore seduction thing, right? Like the first time that I knew, like, well, I'm sure she won't mind me saying, Laura says to me, "Hey, Eugene, I hold your coat." I was like, "Hey." That's the only because we were so stupid, the dudes back then. That's the only way, like, you knew. So
That's it, man. You know what? I think we need to revive that. That's like hey, baby, you do me a favor and hold my coat.
yeah, but you can't. You see, as an older guy, you do it with the eyebrow, right? You're just like, oh, I get it. So anyway.
Listen, rock fight was just worth the price of admission on this show for me. Just rock fight. Okay, so here we go. Let me just realize. Drew, I'd like to sincerely thank you for these shows, Drew. The documentation of a culture and music we all love is so important on top of being super fun. Much love and respect. Well, thank you, Robert. This is from our boy. This is our boy, Ryan Bland from Ake. I loved Blackface. I still blast that 7-inch. How did that band come about with Dukowski?
Well, I was doing this thing where I was reading my book's out, and I was like, I just want to stand on stage and just read from the book. So I decided what I wanted to do was like to have somebody I know play music, right? And so I did a book thing in LA, and Chuck and they signed as Oxbow for one record. We put out Serenade in Red with SST. But even before then, Chuck was buying ads in my magazine, The Birth of Tragedy, the one that I started because of the New York City Department of Parks, right? And so we've known each other for a long time, and he was always like my favorite guy in Black Flag. Like Chuck
for sure.
I fucking love that guy. Love and still love that guy. And he did played bass at the show I did down in where was it? Like Koreatown, some venue. And I was like, man, we should do this again. He was like, yeah. And he's the one who suggested the name Blackface, which I thought was genius. And so we had the idea, the premise was going to be all the songs that he had when Greg kicked him out around the time of My War. So these would have been pre My War, and so we were going to record a whole bunch, but we ended up only recording I think about 4, and then only released 2. And we had this gig set up that it just kills me. The 2 gigs that I have never played that I wanted to play. One was playing support for Minor Threat at the Olympic Auditorium in LA that we couldn't play because Steve was getting married in 3 weeks, and his first wife, thought it was an expression of disloyalty for him to go play. And he's like, don't worry, there'll be other shows. And of course, that Minor Threat broke up right after that tour. And then Blackface got the support slot for Iggy Pop at the Off Festival in Poland. And they were going to pay us $19,000 plus airfare. And then Dukowski, I called him. He's like, I'm not feeling it. And I was like, and he starts explaining. I go, no, I'm not one of those guys. If a woman has ever wanted to dump me or whatever, I don't need the explanation. I don't need to know what's wrong with me.
That's really Dukowski. I'm not feeling it.
Yeah. That's
not feeling what, bro? Going to play with Iggy Pop and making 19 grand?
Yeah,
that's so Black Flag ethos. Listen, to me, he was the heart of Black Flag, man.
Yeah.
When he stopped playing in Black Flag, I lost interest, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Here is a great question, of course, from our resident historian. Another one from Chucky Brown.
He knows a lot.
Can you speak on when Whipping Boy first played Seattle and a bunch of guys wanted to get in for free?
Yeah,
he made them load out their gear after the show, and those guys ended up being rock stars.
Yeah,
Who were these guys?
Well, we had a lot of friends, in Seattle for some reason, because it was close, whatever, from this guy, Jonathan Monkey Seeker, who is Jonathan Everson, who's become actually a famous writer at this point. And so we had friends there. And apparently, I didn't realize this, but we had done some shows with Nirvana. I don't know how I missed this. Somebody pointed it out. Kurt Cobain, they read something that he wrote, and he talked about playing with Whipping Boy. Sadly, I don't remember this, so I suspect it was before he had called the band Nirvana. But we go there, and it was a great show. We were headlining, and it was like, it was the first show I remember that Whipping Boy was ever treated like human beings. Like they had food when we got there. I think we got $300 after the show, and we get there, and these kids, you know, came to the backstage, and they were like, man, we really want to see you guys play. And I go, well, why don't you just go, you know, so we're too young. And so I tell you what, you guys carry all this gear in, I can sign you on as my roadies. But there's a catch. And they go, okay, well, what's the catch? The catch is you got to be here after the show too. And they're like, okay. So they load all the gear in, which is great for us because we hated loading gear in. Well, I hated it, you know, because I'm a singer, because I hate it naturally. So
I hear you.
And they loaded in, and of course I can't find them to load it out. I was like, that was all right. And it was lay there, you know, like I'm watching MTV. I was like, oh, whatever. It was Kim.
Oh, that guy.
It was Kim and who's the kid? The guy who killed himself from Soundgarden. Chris Cornell. Sorry.
And Kim Sale.
Yeah, those were the guys that were carrying our gear in. They were great kids, man. I was sad when he died, and would very clearly still blame his.
Here's a question from our boy Matty. Did Whipping Boy ever do a European tour?
Nah, we never did. I mean, there were a couple of iterations of Whipping Boy. There was a hardcore one, and then we went through that weird phase, courtesy of a whole lot of LSD with the Muru Muru, and then second it was more metal. The third was more metal tinged, and that's when I was the last original guy left, and we had Nico, who's now, you know, in Oxbow, and I think the last iteration of Whipping Boy had me and Nico, Tom Dobroff, who had been in Grim Reality and the Stiffs and a couple of other San Francisco bands, and Dan Adams on bass, who's now Dan Adams, also a bass player for.
Is that Dan Adams in this photo here?
That is Dan with his custom made, that he made himself, 5-string fretless bass. Yeah.
And that sort of segues into this question. You know, how did Oxbow form?
Well, I had my ass burned from the Muru Muru thing because, you know, my understanding is that, you know, like Conquest for Death, Necros. I was a Necros fan from the first 7-inch. I got people were angry about Conquest for Death. I was like, what? This is a great fucking record, because I followed the band. I was into their journey. SSD puts out How We Rock. People are like, it sounds like. I was into the record because I was into the band and I followed the journey, right? So Whipping Boy puts out The Sound of No Hands Clapping. Great. Put out Muru Muru.
People freak out.
I think I remember I had a motorcycle at the time. I put 3 boxes of records. So 60 records in a duffel bag, rode up to San Francisco to Rough Trade. Get it to Rough Trade. No internet back then. By the time I get home, there's an answering machine message on my answering machine. You got to come get these records. I was like, I don't know what we're thinking with 60. We listened to it. We'll take 10. So I had to go back to San Francisco on the motorcycle, take 50 records back. So I was conscious of the fact that, all right, if you go in to buy toilet paper and they give you sandpaper, you might be kind of cranky about it. So I said, I want to do some music that's not Whipping Boy, that's different. I'm going to call it a solo project. Let's call it that. And that's how I got the idea to form. That doesn't answer why I formed Oxbow. That answers how I came to think about forming Oxbow.
Yeah, so that makes sense. And you know, Chucky brings up, and this is how you were on my radar screen a little bit, is you guys were on the Not So Quiet on the Western Front compilation.
And that happened.
Which was a banging compilation, man.
You know how that happened? This is another weird connection, right? Like, okay, so I'm going to CB's, I'm going to Max's, Gildersleeve, I'm going to these clubs. But then, so, you know, every now and then I go to the Mud Club. So I meet this woman at the Mud Club.
Back to the Mud Club.
And, you know, and end up hooking up with her. And but, you know, it's right at the end of the summer thing. I'm going to California. She goes, you should look up my ex-husband. And I go, who's your ex-husband? He plays bass in this band, the Dead Kennedys. You should look him up. And so I was like, cool. And so we come to I hear he's going to be at the show, and I go to the show. It's Circle Jerks playing, Effigies playing support, and some other band opening up. And back in those days, this is the big ball maneuver. Back in those days, I'm standing there at the show. We should really be playing this show. I say to my guitar player, he's like, "Yeah, Steve," and he's like, "I go, actually, we're all here. Drummer Dave, Adam at that time, Zimbardo, Phil, Stanford Prison Experiment guy's son." And yeah, it is Mug Club, right?
I thought that it's not a lot of pictures of the old Mug Club, but there you go. Just a little visual.
There you go. All right. And so that I go up to I don't realize I forget how big Steve is, right? Steve is like 6'6", 275 pounds. So I said, "Hey man, we're all here. Why don't you let us play a few songs before the Circle Jerks came out?" And they look at us like, what, are they going to tell us no? And they're like, all right, well, if the Circle Jerks think it's all right. So I go to Keith. And Keith says, "Hey, we want to play a few songs before you guys come out. Is that cool?" They go, "Yeah, but you can't use our equipment."
So you can, but you can't use our equipment.
Nah, he didn't why. He just like, yeah. So then we go to the Effigies, and those guys are coming from Chicago. They didn't. They said, "Yeah, sure."
They didn't want no trouble.
Yeah, they just said, "Yeah, you could play it." So we did 3 songs before, but they didn't know. And they go, "Next up from LA, the Circle Jerks," and then we come out and we start playing. And people are like, they're throwing like fucking beer and stuff everywhere. We're like, up your asses, And we played a set, and then afterwards, Klaus came up to me because he had heard I'd been looking for him, and he goes, "Who are you guys? What the hell are you doing?" And he was the one who said, "Look, I want you to be on this compilation."
That's cool.
That's how I met Tim and so on. So
right. Yeah, that was a great compilation. What else? Let me see. Yeah, how did Oxbow form? You know what's funny? Wait, we were talking about holding the coat, right? And that was sort of like Nancy Baril says that's how she got Al's straight edge coat.
You see, so she knows. It was a
I'm bringing it back, man.
Tactic,
I'm bringing it back, man.
Yeah,
Once we get things rolling again, like it's sort of like the sort of how do you say it? So it's really tribal. It's really a tribal thing. Like, will you hold my sheepskin, as I go chase some mastodons around,
Well, but all that stuff, like we were talking before, about how we all kind of went back to kind of tribal archetypes, like, given my size, my martial arts thing, typically, like I said, if there was a problem, some
enforcement duties.
Yeah.
Tell us about enforcement duties and sort of, and how, being sort of a well-stacked, well-developed Black teenager, how you sort of fell into enforcement duties, and who with?
Well, but there were cats. You just go from scene to scene, and there were people who that was their thing. And I remember when the first, so I come back that run. I don't even remember what show it was, but I remember on the floor. And so we're 81 now, 82. We're on the floor, and I trip, and I figure, this is like a nail on the floor, right? And so, we're going around the mosh pit, and I trip again. And I was like, Jesus Christ, next time I go by that nail, I'm going to stomp it down so it doesn't keep tripping people. And I get by where I think that nail is, and I see some guy has been putting his foot out. And so I stand up and I go, "The fuck?" And before I can even finish that thought, like, what the fuck? Rabies. He was like the local Eugene Robinson. He came flying off the stage fist first and just beat this guy into the ground. I was like, and he looks at me. I was like, "Thanks, man." He was like, "Yeah, that's how Ray and I became friends." Yeah, literally like Superman with the 2 fists. And but like the woman who ran behind me when Jerry Cooney was bothering her, people were. I think the most weird thing was like in San Francisco. I don't know if you remember that horrible movie, Class of 1984, where these punk rockers, punkers had taken. So
it's It's so bad, it's good.
Well, these Cholos saw the movie, right, which is like the Mexican version of Cuisine.
Yeah.
And they said, we're gonna go beat up some punk rockers. And so this guy Butch from Santa Cruz was stuck up right near Balducci's place in San Francisco, where the Hungry Eye, where
the Hungry Eye,
the comedian. Who's the guy who did OD? They made the movie about. Yeah, the famous comedian. I can't remember.
Belushi?
Lenny Bruce. Lenny
Bruce.
Huh?
Yeah. Lenny
Bruce.
Bruce.
So yeah, so Butch from Santa Cruz says, "Oh, these cholos, I got them." And so I took a couple of the other San Francisco enforcers. I'm not going to mention the guy's name because he deserves to let this story die, but he was a big tough guy, sang for some tough guy band. Let's go on up there. We're going to rescue Butch. So we go up the hill. You know, San Francisco's got these big hills, and these cholos are all ranged across the street, like 5 of them, and Butch is like standing there like this. And then we come around the corner, and I was like, good, it's me. And I look back at the other guys, and the other guy, Mr. Tough Guy, is like disappearing back around the corner. I go, oh, yo, I say his name. Where you going? He goes, oh, I'm going to go get help. I was like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not leaving Butch up there. So I kind of go up and rescue Butch. But that was, I fell into that. And it was weird because people assumed also because I didn't drink and didn't smoke that and I was sort of athletic, that this would be a natural fit. But there were these guys in each scene, whether it was LA or whether it was down in Texas, the South, people that you could reliably be counted on to help you out in a pinch if things.
We've talked about this sort of stuff in a way. It's very tribal. It's like you could go back a million years and these roles were filled very similarly. You got the one guy that talks a big program and throws the first punch. You have the other guy that steps. It's like
trigger.
It's human nature, man.
And man, I used to be friends with this guy named Mickey Mauser, right?
Mickey the Mouth.
Yeah, that's why you can't. You knew anytime you'd go to a party and then you would hear, it's like you were never going to be able to enjoy a party. He just was never going to let you. This was the guy who was, you had at a certain point, I can't go out with you anymore. I can't, sorry.
Here's a question for you. Is an interesting one. This has come up a few times. What was it like being in the Step Down video?
we finally put that together. I mentioned that when we did the 10 questions before, but I was watching the Step Down video and I started laughing because I clearly inspired the California style.
I'm reading this and I'm going, he was in the Step Down video?
No,
video. I was thinking,
man.
Wait, did I miss that?
No,
okay, I get it now.
Yeah, the first time I saw that video, I was like, oh my God. And I mean, if you were back from 81, 82, like I saw Booby, the only one that they did, right. They got Jimmy Gestapo, and I could connect people to the styles. Like the pizza picker was like Jimmy Gestapo.
The chick picking up the change.
That was good Gestapo. Yeah. And then the Booby was in there. The only one that they didn't get, like I mentioned on the 10 questions, was John Watson, who was great. They sort of did, but they didn't get his.
I love John Watson. And John Watson would do like this sort of exaltation to the heavens.
That's right. Right, that's right.
Hey, Mark Pino asks, and we haven't really touched much on this, but is there a new novel forthcoming?
Well, A Long Slow Screw was the first one, and then that was a novel, and then The Fight Book, which was nonfiction, and then I did a play for these French people. It's in French, and then I got Allison Schnackenberger when she was at Southern. Helped me release the play, but I've been thinking about the next novel, and mostly I'm thinking about a way to get paid for it. So I could easily write it tomorrow. I've started working on it, and I've got pages. But I understand. Like, I'll give you an example. I've been doing music since 1980. All right, I had other bands before Whipping Boy. Music since 1980, but finally, Oxbow's last record, Thin Black Duke, is the first record that I put out where everything worked right. Like that's how long it took me. That record came out in when was it, 2017? It took me from 1980 to 2017 to figure out how to get so the radio, press, the retail, it all works out. The videos, just everything worked out, right? And Long Slow Screw, it came out in French, came out in English, and the Italian's going to release it in Italian.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Sometime in 2021. So different publishers, different releases, translations, but it's all happened over like a 10, 15-year period. The next book, I want to figure out how to make it like you know, all that happen at the same time. And it'll be like, Along Slow Screw is my New York story, like stories that I got from when I worked out at the Olympia in Ridgewood from all these like mafioso cats who worked out there, but I couldn't clearly write it as nonfiction because I don't want to get anybody in trouble. I put those all in my New York book and made it Along Slow Screw. Well, the next one is going to be called Love ? Love ! Love, and it's kind of my California story, and it marginally is like about the kind of adult film industry because I did a lot of work for Larry Flint and so on. So,
listen, you're a proficient writer, man, and like I said, it's a great skill to have, man. I want to come back in the next life as a writer, and that's why. You remember our boy Ditto Montiel?
Yeah, I sent him the book. Yeah, I was like,
Ditto. I mean, Ditto was another old school New York hardcore, thumper. Hey, you muted yourself.
I know because I got the baby crying in the back.
Oh, okay. we don't want that. But Ditto could write, man, and he made his way out to Hollywood, and what a great skill to have. And I just reminded me what you were saying is I have a script that I wrote that we put together, like in the mid '90s, right? And every now and then, with the way my career's been, I sort of revisit it, and maybe it's time to make it happen, or maybe not. And what's funny is now I'm feeling like it's time to really revisit it. And it's out in Hollywood now. It's going into it. Someone's rewriting it. It's going into a rewrite. Mm-hmm. And we had this initial conversation. I said, listen, it needs a rewrite. It takes place in 1995. With beepers, people have beepers and wallet chains and answering machines. Yep. And she said, no, I love it. It's perfect. It's retro. So leave it the way it is. Yep. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Beepers and you know what? Let's just leave it, man.
Yeah, leave. Mine is the 70s in New York. I have no interest in changing it. The interesting thing about that is like man, the whole book thing is super interesting, and the Hollywood thing is really interesting. I had a friend who hit big in Hollywood, right? Uh-huh. And he says, "Would you come on down?" And I said, "Well," he goes, "You have any ideas?" Like he's working at Sony or Paramount or something. He come on, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." He was bring him. So he gets me on the lot. And he's big office, the whole thing. His wife shows up, impossibly attractive given his lifelong history with women. It's like, okay, bro, enjoy the life, whatever. She clearly hates him, but whatever. And we go out to lunch and we're sitting there and he said, so tell me about what you've been working on. I go, well, I thought you wanted me to bring it. And I take the script out and I put it on the table and I shove it across the table. And he leans back like I put my penis on the table.
I'm not touching it.
He's like, I'm not.
I know about this.
And it's because at that point, if they even have something in development that looks like that, then I can sue. It's like, hey man, I didn't do this just to do it. You asked me. He goes, well, I just meant, and I was like, oh, okay, I got it. The land of smoke up there. And so a few years ago, the guy actually died. Yeah.
I'm dealing with it this morning. The same thing. The same sort of shit. It's like you gotta straighten this shit out, man.
But then sometimes cool shit happens. Like I got some guy was like wrote me. I found I was cleaning out my garage and found an old Whipping Boy record. So I put that shit up for sale, and the guy writes me and says, I want to buy it. And I'm like reading his name. I'm going like, why is that name familiar to me? It's super familiar to me. And he goes, I don't know if you do this kind of stuff, but I do a little TV show called Mayans MC, and I go, Elgin James. I go, Elgin James.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And he's like, we start shooting again in March. So if you're interested, I go, hey, bro, I got my Screen Actor Guild card. I'm in. Yeah. But then, of course, the pandemic hit. So,
So here's we're heading down the home stretch here. Let's do one last one here. How did you end up writing for GQ, Vice, etc.?
That's a weird thing. The GQ thing is really weird. Like periodically I would say, I'm going to start sending letters out. And so I would just go through the masthead and pick a guy's name who I liked, right? Like, so I picked this guy, Steve Friedman from GQ, just liked his name. And Steve Friedman was like, cool. It's the early days, but anybody was writing about MMA, mixed martial arts. So he got me into GQ. And then like, last Christmas, I was at a company party, and one of the saleswomen says, "My friend Steve Friedman." I go, "Oh my God. So is it the same Steve Friedman?" She goes, "Yeah, he quit GQ to write his novel, and he's having kind of a hard time right now. So I've been trying to track him down to get him writing for me now, so I could pay it forward. But he's the one who got me into GQ and Vice. I think Gavin is the one. Proud boy Gavin is the one who first contacted me about appearing in Vice, because he'd seen something I'd done. I'd done some writing already on fighting. Maybe it was he saw the GQ piece,
Right.
and he said, "Why don't you do a fight piece for us?" And so he's the one. He got me into Vice's Guide to Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, which I still haven't been paid for. And he got me.
Don't you love that?
Yeah, man. And he got me into the Vice articles I got paid for, but yeah. So that's how.
Okay.
But I mean, my first national piece was a piece for Larry Flint, and it was an interview I'd done with Kitten Natividad, who was one of Russ Meyer's actors.
Yeah, sure, of course.
And they bought the rights to it for Hustler's Busty Beauties. And they published that, and then the second one was I did a national piece on because steroid dealing enforcement thugs, and they that was national. And then my mother bought it. She went to screw it, support my son 100%. She went to the newsstand, bought her copy of Hustler, took it to the office, and put little Post-it notes and showed everybody, "Look at my son's article." And they're like, "What's the rest of this magazine?" She goes, "It doesn't matter. Look at my son's article." And that was my first national piece.
Hey, let me bring on my guys. Let me see if they got anything to say, and we'll wrap it up. Hey, Steven. Well,
hey, what's up?
What is this? A remake of Apocalypse Now?
I was going to say Hellraiser, but okay.
What's going on, bro? Let me see. What about Rappo?
I like it. It's a good look.
Good story, bro.
I'm in the train. We had a little technical difficulty on the train. I thought I wasn't going to make it back.
Yeah, what's up?
But we got the train rolling, so.
Oh, that's nice. There you go.
Well, you got anything for Eugene, Steven?
I don't. In fact, I have to catch up on the last 25 minutes because we were doing something with the train and I didn't get a chance to.
Nobody got hit.
You really are in the train. Oh, that's crazy.
Oh,
Nobody got hit.
Look, yeah. Yeah.
Nobody got it. Did anybody get hit by the train?
No, thank God, not today. No, that usually happens right towards Christmas, but but no, today was.
That's one of Steven's jobs, Eugene. When somebody gets hit by the train, it goes into the yard, and Steven has to deal with it.
Oh man,
it's a rough job, man.
Oh, man.
I power wash with the best of them.
Right.
All
right.
But yeah, cool. No, you know what? I just wanted to, to thank you for coming on, and I definitely. Sorry, going into the darkness again. Yeah.
You're in the dark.
Where the hell? Oh, you know why we're off the rail? Great. Okay.
All right, Steven. Yo,
well, listen,
you're not gonna get electrocuted, are you?
Maybe my hair will go back. There we go. But listen, have a great Thanksgiving. Thanks for coming, and
yeah, you too.
And
Thanks for having me.
I'll see you guys later.
Yep. All right, listen, I'll see you on Sunday with Moby, Steven.
Yes, for sure.
All right, cool. I'll see you then. Hold on, let's see what this character has to say.
Bleecker Records.
Were you out in the street? Were you out in the street in front of Generation?
Yeah, what up? Yo, I came down to Generation Records to handle some business with my good friend Mark over at Generation. I want to show you guys something really quick. Check out what's still rocking over at Generation Records all these years later. You see that sign back there?
Yeah,
Psychos, Billy Psycho.
Yeah, oh man,
Wow.
man, yeah, that's cool. That is cool.
Yeah, they got the old Bleecker Bob's record sign in there.
Yeah, that's what I was
Bleecker Records, Bleecker Street Records.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a Eugene, it was great hearing you talk, man. Real motivational, so cool, your story. Oftentimes I was listening, I was like, why'd you throw your life away, bro? You're so smart, man. But, it was great, man. We all got our thing to do in this life. But yeah, there was a huge accident where someone came right out of the parking garage over here.
Oh, I know that
Thompson
garage.
Street by Generation, man. They shot right out. They went right into the seating area.
Oh,
I knew
man.
the shanty towns weren't going to work out well in New York City.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
All right,
It's kind of nice down here, though, man. They really
They did
Hey,
it up down here. on top of the
what's
street.
the weather like? Yeah, my sister and my mom are still there. I'm always asking.
So yeah, it was a great show, guys. Eugene, it was so great seeing you, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone, and we'll see you on Sunday.
All right.
Thanks, Rapones. We'll see you
All right.
soon.
It was great seeing you, Eugene. Great
All right.
story, man. Great hearing you still talk.
Thanks. Thanks for having me in, man.
Later, brother.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You know, listen, we got room for everybody on this boat, baby. You know?
Yeah, people are like, Moby's got to be on Moby. I go, yeah, man. He used to be in Vatican Commandos. Don't you remember?
Moby, yeah. Listen,
Connecticut's finest.
Yeah, you remember that?
Yeah. Well, that was one of the bands I slept on, and it was partially because of regional thing, like Youth of Today. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
But then later, man, I was like listening to them constantly. I was like, I was so stupid. How could I miss it? These guys are great.
I think, listen, you and I are the same age, and we were like, and I'm speaking for myself, being around for that first wave, like seeing Minor Threat as much as we did, and the Misfits and
Negative Approach.
Control and Negative Approach. Like, it was hard for me to sort of like go back a generation to bands like Youth of Today. At the time, I was starting to look down the road at other things. I felt, because, people say, well, Youth of Today was my Minor Threat, and Minor Threat was my Minor Threat,
But the funny thing is, it's I understand that it's been hard for, like, say, Jack Rabbit. I met him when I was like 15 in high school, just showing up at shows with my friend Dave Satz. It just like, like Mike D. Boone sang in the Minutemen song. We're a couple of fucking corn dogs, man. And so I think it's interesting. So I've been in music since 1980, but since Jack Rabbit has known me since like 77, he still thinks about me as like, it's like the kid brother. And I was like, that's cool. Like we talk and stuff. He never asked me about music that I'm working on or anything. It's just like, oh yeah, there's that kid who thinks I'm a hot shot. Yeah, just like,
well, it's funny because that happens a lot in hardcore. It's like, I remember when he was a roadie, and it's like, who fucking cares, bro? It's 30 people. So we have to keep him as a 17-year-old knucklehead roadie. He couldn't move along and have a career. Hardcore's like that. People want to sort of like, I remember when, back in the day.
I went to a high school reunion, and one of the cats showed up at the high school reunion. Was a guy, we had been friends, but we got into a fight in high school, and I beat him up. And of course, you remember, you see somebody at the reunion, but he didn't go to college after high school. He went into the building trades. He runs a contracting business. And if you've been in the building trades in New York City for 30 years, you know what I'm saying? You're not to be trifled with. So I see him at the reunion, and the way my mind works is the videotape starts where it left off. So I was going to go up and say, hey, Chris, remember that time I kicked your ass? But he vibed mob like so heavily. I was like, you know what? 35 years later, I don't need to remind this guy of that shit. I don't want him having to like go home and get your shine box. I don't want one of those.
Sure.
So,
why go there?
Why go there? Unnecessary, So
hey man, I want to thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks,
we had a great time. We had a lot of laughs. You're always welcome here, brother.
That's nice. I got something. I'll let you know first.
Please. And anybody you want to shout out on the way out?
I tell you, man, I'd like to, and the hardcore is a great place for this. I don't do it in any other place in my life, but the people who I think about them all the time, the people who are gone. I think Ray, Chris Cherokee, Leon Lazar, they were in my life for only the briefest of moments, and recently this year we lost a lot of people too because of COVID and other things, and just we're getting old. So all those cats, all those people that we once knew, I'd like to. That's my salute to them. So
thank you, bro. Todd Youth, and Jack Flanagan from the Mob, and Kenny Aaron. Yep. Kenny Aarons from Urban Waste.
Urban Waste, good friend.
Steve Post that just passed away. So, we're at that age now, man.
Yeah, that's why all the people used to make fun of me for, you just lifted weights and running. It seems so stupid now. Eat your fucking Wheaties, do some push-ups, stay alive,
Let's end it on a laugh, brother. I love you, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, Jude. Later, man. Bye-bye.
Take care. Well, there you go. Wow, what a great guest, Eugene S. Robinson. A lot of laughs, a lot of fun. We were the New York Hardcore Chronicles Live, sponsored by New York Hardcore Comics, The Organic Grill, the Texas Silver Rush, Chain Reaction Records and Skateboards, and Your Core Hardcore fan page. I want to thank everybody from around the world that tuned in and enjoyed the show. We will see you on Sunday for Moby. Until then, do good things and good things will come to you.